Hello, I'm Scott Bogie here with Jonathan Pearce ahead of his fight on October 12th against Pat Sabatini. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And how has training camp been for this fight?
It's been excellent. Probably one of my best training camps I've had so far. This will be like my ninth fight with the UFC, so I just feel like I'm gaining momentum, getting better as I continue to have more fights with the UFC.
Exactly. And I heard that before you got into the UFC, you put everything into it. You sold your company and you came and you put everything into fighting. Is that correct?
Yes, I was mowing yards, I was cutting grass and whooping ass. I was fighting for Bellator. I hadn't had the big money fights, and then I was like, the only way I'm going to be able to do this is if I go all in and show the UFC that I'm serious and move away from home, and that's what I did.
And how was it when you finally got that UFC contract?
That was probably one of my biggest moments in my fighting career, like winning my first fight on ESPN and it being for Contender, and I got a knockout was it was everything I could hope for. I was already winning the fight, and then in the third, getting a knockout was just with seconds left.
Exactly. And there is a lot of dispute about fighter pay. What's your view on it?
I think if you stay active, then it's not that bad. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
also, if like you got an accountant and you do your taxes right, then you're not paying a lot of taxes back. But like to be able to get those big draw fights, you got to get yourself out there. Like look at Diego Lopez. He lost twice on Contender, and now he's fighting for a title. So like you got to put yourself out there. You can't be afraid to lose. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. And because you now are riding a two-fight losing streak, do you feel like there is any more pressure on you to get the victory in this fight?
No, can you still see me?
Yeah, I should be able to see you.
Okay. No, I feel like there's no pressure on me, like getting the win because I did go on a five-fight win streak. So with that being said, like I have a knockout over him or just a finish or a Darren Elkins performance, then I'll be able to be back in, looking at top 15 or either uh like a Bryce Mitchell fight or something like that. Something that's either going to feed me to the top 15, a top 15 fight, or, it could be a mystery. I've come in short notice for one of those bigger top 10 fights.
Exactly. And you were meant to fight Bryce Mitchell before, however, you did have to pull out with an injury. Is that a fight you are wanting to have in your career?
Yeah, I definitely wanted that fight. Like I feel like there was a miscommunication with everything. Like I figured when I got hurt that we were gonna just reschedule the fight later on, and then I ended up getting the fight with Burrito. So I wasn't really happy about fighting down after a five-fight win streak. But you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes, and I feel like that's a learning lesson. Um, you know, I don't see many people winning five straight. And then on top of that, like at the rate I was doing, like they didn't really go to war like I did. They didn't, I don't see many people hitting somebody like 200 times. Like when I fought Elkins, I broke his leg. I cut him open pretty bad. And I'm sure that's not the only things that happened.
Exactly. And in your last fight, how did you feel like that fight went?
In my last fight, it kind of went either way. I feel like I wasn't patient enough. I need to be a little bit more patient on the feet because he did have the reach. But like it was going to be hard for them to score damage on him because even if I cut him, it would be hard to be able to see. And I knew this going in, so I didn't know. I thought I would have done better in the wrestling. Like in the second round, I almost got a rear naked choke, and I really went for the finish in the second round. And I got a little tired, and then I regained it in the third and tried to put on a performance right at the end for him, just to try to solidify what I could because my background's more of a wrestler. He had a little bit better boxing than me, but I felt like they were scoring the headshots to my calf kicks. So, like, yeah, I
Yeah,
landed just as many, maybe one more or two more significant strikes than him and had more control time. It was just kind of how the fight played out. And I think they're looking for something a little different than, like a Khabib or anything like that.
Exactly. And what have you improved on the most since that last fight?
I think just like my experience, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
the level of guys that I've fought, like I'm not a top five, top 10 guy, but I'm looking around and I don't see anybody who's where I'm at that's fought the level of guys I have with the number of fights I have. So I just feel like I got a lot of talent. I'm just, there's a metaphor for it. I'm kind of like a jewel in the rough, you know what I mean? Like a ruby in the
yeah.
rough. I got to get cleaned off and get back on the winning streak of things. And then I feel like everything else will turn back around and be like it was before.
And like you were saying earlier, once you get this victory against Pat, you're looking for that top 15 fight. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm looking for the best, I mean, after 10 fights in the UFC, you know what I mean? Like I'm fighting the best guys in the world. If I can fight a guy like they got me at 30th right now. Well, last time I won, I broke the top 15 against Darren Elkins, and then I lost my last two. But those last two guys got pushed to the top 15 right after they beat me. So like I'm kind of like a gatekeeper right now, is what I
Yeah,
think. And I think as long as I go out there and get a finish or a Darren Elkins performance, then they gotta give me something because Burrito has just fought, or maybe give me one of those guys who fought in Paris. You know what I mean? Because they're on a
yeah,
3 or 4 fight win streak and they're like ready to fight the top 15. So I don't really care who they give me. I'm just ready to work. I feel like I got a lot to prove, and I feel like no matter I'm a bad matchup for anybody. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter if they're a striker, wrestler, or top five in the world. I feel like I can hang with any of the guys.
exactly. And how much do you feel like the rankings are actually meaningful? Because you're obviously this weekend, as an example, you have Alex Pereira defending his title against the number 8 ranked fighter. Do you feel like the rankings are actually accurate?
I don't think they're always accurate. I think they're kind of grandfathered in. Like for example, the guy who fought main event on the France card, he was talking about Hangman, and he was
Yeah,
like how he's just a turtle on the tree. Well, there's a lot of guys like that at 45. They're just on the tree and they haven't been active and they haven't been fighting anybody. Like I was on a 5 fight win streak and broke the top 15, and then all those guys were like, "Oh, we ain't ready." So it's like I've been asking for it, and then they knew that it wasn't going to be a good matchup for them. Like Calvin Cater, a lot of those guys haven't fought a lot and had a lot of injuries, and to get there, you're going to have a lot of fights and a lot of damage. So I understand, I respect it, but at the end of the day, like you got to pass on the torch and let the other guys have their opportunity. You can't
yeah,
just like grandfather it in and keep it locked up where we can't have our opportunity. So like I took those last two fights. Those were the tough fights. I'm gonna knock out Pat Sabatini, and then I feel like I'll be right back where I was. And just kind of like timing is important. Like if somebody falls off a card and you're right there ready to go, you're the man for the job. And that's kind of what I'm looking to do, or just wait my turn or climb the ladder again. Like any way they want to serve it, because I'm not going to come this far just to come this far. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep going.
yeah. And do you like to stay active to be able to get that short notice opportunity?
Yes, I try to stay as active as I can. I've been fighting since I've been doing mixed martial arts. Like I started wrestling when I was 12. I'm 32 now. So I got almost 20 years in combats. Uh, there's definitely like a different type of level of training when you're not in camp than versus in camp. Like I feel like injuries are high in camp and stuff like that because you're going a lot harder. But you got to keep that slow grind all the way through the year. I feel like that's what happens to these older guys. They get a little comfy, they get a house or something, and they get comfortable, and then they kind of fall off a little bit. Where the younger guys, that all they got is opportunity. So perspective is huge in this game. I feel like.
And, and how much say do you have in your opponent? Do you get any say in it, or do you just get told you have a fight against this guy? Are you wanting to take it?
When I was with Jason House, they would give me like three options. And then when I went over to my new management, I just get a name and I take whoever they give me. I'm usually not picky. Uh, I think the only fight I turned down was the Diego Lopez fight because I was wanting to fight up and had already like felt like I'd made the mistake of fighting down against Burrito after a five
Yeah,
fight win streak. So for me, it was kind of like, hey, I want an opportunity, but I want an opportunity where it makes sense for me too. Like I know I work for the company, but at the end of the day, like I have my own career, I have my own agenda, and I want to be where I want to be too.
exactly. And you're saying you came into the sport at 12 years old, but how did you find MMA?
How did I find MMA? I
Yeah,
found MMA. So there's like a couple different stories. I broke my jaw, but I didn't break my jaw till after I was already fighting. So when I was growing up, like I had an older sister and I got along well with the ladies and I wrestled and I wasn't the best wrestler. And I felt like that put me in a position where I was an easy target. So I got singled out a lot, but I manifested that. I used that to my advantage. And I feel like as I got older, I realized that people don't really care as much as you think, and even if they do, who cares? You know what I mean? Because I'm doing this for me. So I'm, I found MMA through like going out and getting in fights and having to go to the hospital. And I was like, I wrestled. I was in the state finals my senior year and went to college. And then I got in that fight in college and fought two guys. And I realized like I'm not going to wrestle at this D2 school anymore. I'm gonna go
yeah,
fight for the UFC. And I just kind of shifted gears and started doing that. And then in the process, I still had like altercations like that where I'd get cut up and it would help me get back to the gym, double down, take it more seriously. And then I turned professional, and after my first pro fight, that's when I broke my jaw. They shot and embedded on it. Like I bit my tongue in half. I broke 19 of my teeth. I broke my neck. It was like coming to Jesus. So once I had went through that, that was like him telling me, like, "Hey, dude, like I have something for you." Like, and also with all that being said, that isn't my story. That's God's story. You know
yeah.
what I mean? I'm just the guy who gets to play that role. So for me, like the two fight losing streak was almost like a blessing in disguise. I feel like it brought me down to where I needed to be because I got a big head and made me realize more things about life.
Yeah, exactly. And like you were saying earlier, you have fought with Bellator. How was that experience?
It was awesome. When I fought with Bellator, it was outside. It was at the Bristol Motor Speedway. It was like 100 degrees. The mat was like bubbling up, and I took the guy down. And I remember after I fought him, like he came up to me and he was like, "Dude, it wasn't you why I wanted to get up. That mat was burning me. It was burning my back." And I was like, "Yeah, it was hot, man. Like it was hot. Like The sun was beaming in our eyes, so I could like barely see him. So there wasn't a lot of striking." And then the second fight I had with Bellator, it was outside again at the the Talladega Nights, and that was pretty cool because that's an old Air Force base, and then it was on
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, so it was like real spooky, and I was the main event, and I was the away guy, so I was like the Freddy Cougar, and I was excited to come in and like ruin their party and it was the first time I was a poster boy and stuff like that. So like that was it wasn't a lot of pay, but it was a really cool experience I'll never forget.
And do you feel like the UFC should start to do more shows like that in outside venues and like stadium shows? I know here in Europe they are starting to do that in other organizations, but do you feel like the UFC should adopt that?
I think when they started doing the Abu Dhabi like Fight Island and then had that cage outside, but they didn't fight outside, I think that would be really cool. I think if they did like one in Thailand where it was an open arena, you know what I mean? Like there's a
Yeah.
cover or like in a football arena because you would have that fresh air. So it'd be a different atmosphere. I think that would be really cool. I don't think outside is good because then it's going to be hard to be a performer. But I think if you had something where there was shade and then you still had the fresh breeze and stuff like that, I think that would be a whole different environment. I think it would bring in a whole new crowd.
And what do you feel like has been the trickiest fight so far in your UFC career?
Hmm. Let me think. I would say the Christian fight was probably my trickiest one because like I got tested real early in the fight. Like I thought him being a 35er coming in short notice, my teammate had fought him. Like I was kind of like overlooking him, and he was way younger than me, so I felt like I had experience. I was a big brother, I was going to bully
Yeah.
him and push him around. But then when I got out there, I realized he had some really good traps set for me and waiting for me, and put myself in a bad spot real early, and he probably held me in that choke for like a minute, and I was like, I'm either going to go out or I'm going to get out. And when he put the choke on me, I was making eye contact with my team, and I was like, "Oh, I can't quit on my team now." And I just felt like everything was perfect, for me to be able to get out of that choke, and then fight for like 12 minutes after I was completely like there was nothing in the tank after that.
And how is it fighting a teammate?
Um, I don't know. I don't think I've fought a teammate yet. But in the gym, like it's fun. It's kind of like brotherly,
Yeah.
like he gets one in on me, I got to get one in on him. I don't know if you've ever had a brother or somebody you playing a game with and you have the table in between each one of you all. That's kind of, I guess, how it feels like. You're like, who's going to go first? So I enjoy scrapping it up with the guys.
And am I correct in saying that you're currently with Fight Ready MMA?
Yes, sir.
And how has that been for the development? Because obviously there's a lot of top level guys at that place.
I feel like that's where I've spent most of my career. I took my Joe Lozon fight there, and then I lost that fight, and then went on a five-fight win streak. In my eyes, I'm 7-0. You know what I mean? So that's just the way it goes. I think that that's probably the best place I can find to train out here right now, and I've enjoyed it a lot. Been here for like 8 years. I don't have any family here or anything like that. It's just me. So that's been a little difficult, but other than that, I really enjoy it.
And as long as you do come out this fight completely healthy, when are you looking to get back into the octagon?
Well, that's a hard one because either when you say completely healthy, like I could fight 15 minutes and be healthy, but like banged up, and I need a mental rest more than
Yeah,
like a physical rest because you cut all that weight, you do all that performing, shaking hands, kissing babies. But if you go out there and have a 30-second knockout and they're like, hey, here's a bonus, here's a new contract, then you kind of got to do what life serves you. So it's kind of what I get. You know what I mean? I got to play my cards as I get them
exactly. And how many do you have many fights left on this current deal?
on this card.
Like on the current contract?
This is my last fight on my contract right now. So
And have there been any talks of them extending this?
accepting the fight
No,
or
like extending the contract.
I don't really know. I feel like from my perspective, like I've performed, I've done my job, I've done a really good job. I'm gonna continue to do a good job. I don't know what their agenda is, you know what I mean? So but at the end of the day, like I said before, I feel like I went on a five-fight win streak, and then off my loss, like they gave me a dude that was on a 2 or 3 fight win streak, and then they give me another guy who's on a win streak. So it's
Yeah,
like I think that they're gonna keep me in there. You see what I mean? Because like when I come off a loss, it's different. It's not like I'm going 1-1. I'm losing or I'm winning five straight. And yeah, I might skid on two, but I also I'm just excited to get out there and perform, honestly. Like I feel like it doesn't matter even if I get cut, even if I have to go back to the regional scene, I'm gonna knock out two dudes and be right back in. So uh but I'm not thinking like that right now. So
and how do you handle the high pressure situations?
I was born in the fire, like broke my jaw before I got in the UFC. I feel like that's something I carry when I go into the cage. I feel like that's something a lot of people haven't ever experienced. Like people haven't experienced death or like a choice. Like I was in a point where I could like decide whether I wanted to be here or not. So I feel like taking that into the cage, that's like real powerful. And I just feel like I'm different than everybody here. and I'm just ready to show everybody I'm a different type of animal, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And is there any like rituals or anything you like to do before a fight?
The cut is like religious for me. Like I try to, it's more of like you get your treat if your weight is on point, but then it gets, to fight week and you don't really eat sweets or anything. You're only drinking water, no soda. So to me, it's like a cleanse, and to me, it's like romantic with God. You know what I mean? Like I do this super hard cut where I lose all the weight and fat off my body, and he's like, okay, I'll give you food, but now you got to work again. You got to perform, and if you do good, then I'll reward you. So that's kind of like what it is for me, and also through that being able to show people him. You know what I mean, and show his love. So that's kind of the direction I'm trying to move into now as a father, and I'm more of a leader. Like at Fight Ready, I'm one of the veterans. I'm not one of the new guys. So I feel like I have a lot of weight on my shoulders, and I have to be like a father to the team.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for coming on today. That was great, and I wish you the best of luck for your fight. I'll let you have the final word. Is there anything else you're wanting to add or anyone you're wanting to shout out?
I would like to thank No Mercy No Quit, one of my biggest sponsors. I'd like to thank Arizona Card Show, another one of my sponsors. I'd like to thank Black Sheep Baggers. I would like to thank Black Sheep Outdoors and Dirty Game Calls and Hooks, Arizona Archery, and everybody who's been a part of my career all the way from the time I started. Um, it's all helped me get to where I'm at today, and I just can't wait to perform for you all, put on a big performance, and make you all proud.
Well, I know you'll put on a great performance and get that victory.
Yes, sir.